Good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. I hope we meet you well. A bit of a spark, a bit of a smile, perhaps more than a bit, because the strike has been averted. Federal government and Labour have reached agreement. That's going to be our theme today. Very wee hours of the morning, right up to 3:45, according to reports, was when they were meeting. But now an agreement has been hammered out. First of all, we heard from the Minister of State Labour, Festus Keyamo, SAN, and then we were to also hear in the news from the Minister of Labour directly, giving a very, very detailed account. The first report, I think, was along the lines of a communique is forthcoming, but now we have it. We have agreement, and we have with us here the Vice Chairman, Nigeria Labour Congress, Lagos State Council, Comrade Adetunji Ademisoye. Thank you very much for coming on. And our congratulations in order for all Nigerians.
Congratulations to all workers.
Okay, we'll talk a bit more about that.
Yes.
Okay, maybe it's the Oliver Twist thing. Comrade Ademisoye is also Deputy General Secretary, Non-Academic Staff Union, Lagos State Council, but he's here as the NLC man. Thank you very much for coming on. And right next to him is Comrade Akim Azim. Comrade Akim Azim, Secretary, Association of Senior Civil Servants of Nigeria, Lagos State Branch, and he's a former chairman, TUC, Lagos State Council. You're also welcome, Comrade.
Good morning,
indeed.
sir.
Thank you very much for coming on the program. Well, Comrade Ademisoye, let me start with you. I introduced you first. When they say not yet Uhuru and all of that, and when they talk about not yet Uhuru, in this case, it is Uhuru.
Yes.
Yes, Labour is happy.
Yes, Labour is perfectly happy now.
That's good to hear. It means that even though there were times when it seemed to be threatening a bit, agreement couldn't be reached as early as we had hoped, at the end of the day, we're happy.
Oh, yes.
Even though, well, that's the whole purpose of negotiation, isn't it? Even though that was not Labour's first thrust, in fact, it's significantly lower. What went on there? Was it that Labour came to understand that, look, the former was a negotiating position. We understand our country, we understand, tight corners or whatever, but Labour coming on board and everything being okay. Tell me how you reached that from the difficulties in announcing an agreement.
Yes, and thank you, the viewers. You see, in a tripartite negotiation, a lot of things have to put on table, and a lot of indices have to be checked upon. If we look at the antecedents of this negotiation, we started from certain figure.
That's right.
And when the reality was done on us, and based on the economic reality in the country, vis-a-vis what can be the effect on workers in future, then there's need for us to compromise.
Okay.
Compromise not at the detriment of the workers, because this negotiation of minimum wage is supposed to have come and gone since.
Yeah.
But because of the tenacity or purpose of Labour, that Labour, they know what is going on, and they also are a stakeholder in Nigerian project. Therefore, they shouldn't try as much as possible to sink the economy. That is where the compromise comes up.
Okay. Comrade Kasim, you come along with that. Was TUC always on the same side as the Trade Union Congress? Was it always on the same side of Labour, or did they have a different position? Maybe not overall, but were there areas of differences?
No, we started the negotiation together. It was a tripartite committee.
Okay.
Labour represented by TUC and NLC, and some members of Joint Negotiating Council, the organized private sector, and the government. You see, even during the public hearings, we presented 66.5%. And
that is to say, that's the
yes.
Consequential.
Before the consequential.
Before the consequential. Okay.
Yes, 66,500 as
what you wanted based on the 30.
The least paid worker, what the least paid worker should earn,
Okay.
as against the approved 30 thousand.
Okay.
And you will agree with me that out of about 90% of the world countries that that signed agreements with ILO, Convention 95 and 100, it was there stipulated that let there be a fixed amount of salaries for almost 90% countries of the world. And I want to tell you, even up to with this 30,000, Nigeria happens to be one of the least paid in the world. But you see, because of the fear of the unknown, because of the fact that we wouldn't want an occasion where the members of staff will be retrenched, we have to just compromise at that level to this amount of 30,000 naira,
Okay.
which was approved far back 180 days ago, 18th of April. Presently, you will agree with me that the last minimum wage was 2011. And before the minimum wage, because we are talking of relativity, when you hear consequential adjustment, is referred to as relativity between the least paid and the highest paid. In 2011, before the advent of the law, which was passed as minimum wage 18,000 naira, government has increased staff salaries by 53.37%. So by the time the minimum wage was implemented, 18,000 naira, they only added 900 naira across the board. Because this time around, they are talking
for the lowest paid
across the board,
Oh,
that is from levels 1 to 17.
Okay.
But this time around, they had forgotten that time they implemented 53.37%. So now they were saying, we want to pay 30,000 and nothing more. It is not done. There will be relativity, because if you fail to do that, there will be distortions between the least paid and the highest paid. Hence the need to request for consequential adjustments.
And the way it was ultimately, agreed, naturally, the higher you went, the lower the percentage was.
Exactly.
Percentage increment could be. I think you probably. Did you also have a staggered proposal, or was it that look, everybody would move by the same percentage of from?
Ordinarily, 18,000 to 30,000 is 66.6%. We had expected let it go across the board.
Okay.
But we are aware of the fact that it will be very difficult for government to do that. Hence, the need to graduate according to grade level.
What you were monitoring? You were monitoring this, Comrade Ademisoye, as in fact you said you're a bit blurry-eyed because even though you were remote from where the meeting was going on, nevertheless, all Labour people were sort of networked and were monitoring it. What was the main difficulty? One thing that I noticed, there was commendation from, I think it was the head of civil service of the Federation, that look, Labour needs to be given kudos. They were reasonable. We presented the facts. They themselves were open. So what was keeping things for a bit, giving everybody apprehension?
Yeah, thank you, Okriori. You see, this time around, we need to checkmate, because there is history. From what my colleague said, if we remember what happened in 2011, 53.3% is just ordinary 900. This time around, we don't want to make that mistake.
Okay.
And that is why the people are trying as much as possible to check all the relevant facts. And with that relevant facts, we must also look at the economic implication to the government. And that is why you can see that so many assignments were given to so many committees, from levels 7 in the core ministry, level 8 in the core ministry, like that. Then the stage 2, because we are having 12 different salary structures. And this is the first time, emphasis on that word, that all these 12 salary package is being harmonized and treated once and for all, so that there will not be distortion
Okay.
when the implementation comes on board.
Okay, explain that harmonization a bit, because all these different salary structures within the civil service, the civil servants have their own, the academic staff people have their own, and so on and so forth. How easy or difficult was that to harmonize, because they're not the same?
Yes. Yes, if you see the final figure that was out a couple of hours ago, you will realize that there's what they call con-rise.
That's right.
There's what they call con-s.
There's contis.
There's what they call contis. There's what they call compass. There's what they call contis. All
of these are different salary
they are different salary
grades for different services of the public sector.
Exactly. For instance, people in the health sector, people in the university sector, people in all the tertiary institutions, all across board like that, they have different names to it. And these are things the labor try as much as possible to juggle together before they come out on. If you see the percentage, apart from level 7 on the second side of the structure, that is enjoying 23.2%, like the civil service structure. All others, that is from levels 8 to 14, they are on 16%. I'm talking of this compass, conrise, connes, contedis, all these things.
And that's a function of it not being the same.
Being the same. It has taken care of so that one will not be worse off. And maybe if you remember that there was a technical committee set up by the government, Bismarck-Rewani's committee, all these things were taken into consideration before the labor. It's a very succinct job done by labor this time around. And because of the ruggedness of labor, and that is why the head of service, acting head of service, praised the courage and benevolence of labor, seeing reality. And that is why I'm happy that the government on their own side, they have started even implementing what we assume not to be possible, like cutting all the cuttables, which you have been seeing on the, it's in the public view now. You cannot go to anywhere, maybe more than 2 or 3 times in a quarter. All these things were supposed to be cut. And that is why they even brought RMF, fiscal and monetary people, to be there, so that they will know how to adjust. And if you listen to what the Minister of Labour said, there are some votes that governors, ministers, that they need to shed. If they shed this, it will take care of all, because based on the 10.3 trillion budget presented by the government, all these things, all these leakages, if it is being blocked, it will take care of. And there's no way any state cannot pay. Because with this so-called VAT they mentioned, 50% is going to the state out of it. 35% is going to the local government, whereas 50% goes to the federal. Automatically, there's no way a state can never pay this minimum wage across board.
Because, Comrade Kazim, that was one of the fears that, look, the way labor was going, as it was thought at the time before the resolution, was that not all states can pay this. In fact, it was thought that government might not be able to pay when you look at the economy, when you look at the situation, but it's just been explained by him how, everything has been resolved. But the minister was saying all through, Dr. Ngigi, that, look, I'm in the middle here. I'm a negotiator. I mean, I'm not on government side, so to speak. I'm not on labor side, so to speak. Let the facts speak for themselves, and so we can understand it, and based on everything being on the table, we can take a mutual decision. That's a different tactic from before, when it was almost us against them. But was that helpful this time around in resolving this?
Yeah, to some reasonable extent. I want to let you know that this minimum wage was taken reluctantly. I'm very frank with you, taken reluctantly. We are saying that staff salaries should be priority to any government, be it state, federal, or local government. You should ensure that the hen or the fowl that are laying the golden egg should not go malnourished.
The workers.
That is the workers. Now, first and foremost, it is expected that the government will set aside certain amount of money out of their revenue for payment of staff salaries. That's one. Two, government has not done the needful. That is federal government. I am still saying here that the way revenue generation has been shared between the federal, state, and local government is not acceptable to us. 52% to the federal government is on the high side. State government and local government are close to the corridor of power, are close to the masses. What comes to them should be higher than what goes to the federal.
Okay, that was one of the positions.
Yes, if such a thing is done conveniently, comfortably, state government will not only pay, they will surpass what federal government has agreed to pay.
Which was the point that the Lagos State government governor made, this particular point.
Exactly.
That, look,
Exactly.
and that it was also a point that was used by other watchers of the economy and the polity, that not all states are probably as buoyant as Lagos. But without prejudice to that information, the governor had said that, look, we're just waiting for labor and government to come to an agreement. That it was like saying that we, thank God, don't really have a problem with it. Let's just look at what is agreed. And so the point that you were making, I'm sure you also recall that.
At the time he called us,
The governor of Lagos.
Governor of Lagos called us in October and prepared to pay. Set up motion for negotiation. Is it the fear that we did not know what would be coming from the federal? If not, we ought to have started negotiation before now. But even with the meeting we held some few days ago, he told us he's prepared to pay more than the federal. And you see, the most important thing which governors need to know, that you need to mobilize, motivate those agencies that generate revenues in your state. As we speak, LRS has gotten 75% increase, upward review of their salaries. The governor had called
the Lagos Inland
Revenue
Service.
Service that generates almost 80% of Lagos State internal generated revenue. He had called the unit heads. Tell me the problem you have. I want to get it solved so that my target is 50 billion. That 30 billion you are making, to me, on the influx of Nigerians in Lagos is on the high side. In fact, I had wanted to say, okay, Executive Governor of Lagos State, please, whatever you have remaining in the budget for this year, let it be spent on repair of roads, which is degrading. But in earnest, if you have to say that, it means all other sector will be affected. Then staff salaries is sacrosanct.
Okay. Comrade Ademise, the point he just made, when we naturally would be on a story like this, when we were talking about it, people that called in, our viewers, because people were, let it be, maybe you were listening to television yourself, there were those who were critical of labor, and say, look, why does labor go to this whole salary business and threatening of strikes? And some had even phoned in that, look, why isn't labor concentrating on real enhancement? Because a salary, the way it was thought, is hardly real enhancement. Given you just mentioned the roads, and why? In fact, somebody went as far as saying that why doesn't labor strike if they want to strike, based on the horrible conditions of the road, based on its unacceptable where NEPA is, where the power situation is, and all of this is hurting us. Of course, I want to hear what you think, because there were those who also pointed out that, wait a minute, labor has to operate by rules. They have their different lanes. Labor, it's not labor's business to be striking to be agitating for roads. Give me your perspective, because you have indicated that maybe just salary will have a distorting effect. So you were aware of this.
Yeah, let me say this in point clear.
I will take it. I will take the comrade.
Yes, for information, there is no state that cannot pay salary. Look, majority of the states.
You're saying that in the face of evidence before us, where some salaries are owing, that some states are owing.
When did they start owing salary? Majority of the states are lazy. Lazy, quote and unquote. There is no
Meaning
state,
not creative enough.
Yes, there is no state in this Nigeria today that is not having mineral deposit.
Okay.
Some days ago, they said they discovered oil somewhere in the northeast. There are some states that all the minerals is being taken by illegal people. I can mention so many states, but they rely too much. Each said about the 52% that the federal is taking. Majority of the states believe that they should go to Abuja, cap in hand, to collect, not ready to do anything. Whereas, if we look at what happened today now, assuming we do not have that stringent negotiation bargaining power, you think things that come out today will come out? You think all this shedding weight, quote and unquote, do you think it will come out? There are so many of the governors that are in the Senate that they are taking so many things, which you people know. Why should that be?
So
So
you
all
believe
this
that
excessiveness, if it is being curtailed, it will take care of. And if you are creative, and you always said, we shall get so many things. Agriculture. There are so many developed countries. I don't like comparing Nigeria with any of these countries because, one, they are not the same. It is true Nigeria is developing. If Nigeria is blessed with human resources, it is we that does not tap that resources effectively that is creating problem for us. Look at it, Lagos State. We are aquatic state. Fish, you can see the numbers of, we are number 3 in the whole world as far as fish is concerned. And we're having a Nigerian Institute of Oceanography and Marine Research there. Why can't they focus attention on that so that they can get enough of tilapia and
whatever,
whatever,
at least produce, it's an aspect of food production. This was the point that was being made that you also addressing that, look, there were those who expressed a fear that, look, getting this extra money, of course, that's cool. Everybody likes that. But because this increased net now will not cover everybody, it's going to have an effect, I think, on the economy, was one of the fears, because the market women, the artisans, everybody will say, fine. How many percent did these government people give themselves? Let's arrange ourselves in our unions here and tell customers that, sorry, that tire you were doing for 20 naira, it can't work like that again. The pepper seller, ditto. And so before you know where we are, the fear is that we'd effectively be back where we started, even though we have more money in our hands, but purchasing power is going to be the problem. That must have been on your minds too.
Yes, you see, the fear of what had even just been given, how it will be eroded, is right in place. The increase in VAT, probably from 5 to 7%, will have multiplier effect on the salary we have just taken. You see, the other than the fact that it has been an agreement that every 5 years, let there be an upward review of staff salaries. But more importantly, government has not done what is expected of them. There would have been less agitation for increase in salaries if social amenities are provided enough for Nigerians. For instance, 2011, dollar to a naira is 150 naira to a dollar. Now we have 360 to a dollar. At the time we had either 78 or 87 naira of pump price of fuel. Now it's 145. What do you call it? This disco stroke neck bill is on the high side. Everything escalating without any effect, anything to cushion the effect of that. Far back 2011. So definitely, you know that Nigerians will definitely suffer, and at the expense of those who are taking millions as salaries every month, we will not sit down hand-folded. Government needs to ensure that we have effective transportation. Buying buses that negotiations or Nigerians will pay 100 naira as against the yellow buses that will take 200 naira. Having shelter is equally very important, whereby you have houses where you give out for probably 100,000 a year as against 200-300 that landlords will charge. quality education with reduced school fees. If all these things have to be put in place, I assure you there will be less agitation for increase in staff salaries.
Well, government must have given some assurances that they were able to come some part of the way towards this ideal that you're talking about, because labor went there with specific demands, no doubt.
Yes.
Now, April next year is the effective date, right? April 2019?
You see, that is another thing.
Yes.
Another scenario now, because the agreement was signed
April
180 days ago, 18th of April 2019. And payment to levels 1 to 6 are taking effect far back that day. I don't know what is on the ground now.
When
you
you say,
hesitate to
when you say
what is
taken,
good for the goose is good for the gander.
Exactly. Yes. When you say have taken, that is to say the minimum wage.
Exactly.
Yes.
Before getting to the problem of consequential.
Exactly.
Those public servants had actually been receiving that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that has started.
Yes.
So there's no problem there. It is the consequential that was always the issue.
Yes.
Well, okay, then the other thing, how did you sort out the whole matter about the identification thing? What is this thing now? The verification, you know, what's this? It just escapes my memory, the terminology. You know, passport, ID.
Okay. The NIMSI.
Okay.
How is that going to work?
It's very...
Because that is still problematic.
Really, well, to some extent, I think.
I think to some extent that is problematic, but it's not. You see, it is the labor that is going to work on. I'm happy the paper is out now. When I say paper, I mean the Wala is out.
Yeah.
It is off now. The workers now will go back to their different schedule and assist the government, because we are particular on this issue. And automatically, all workers going back now, because to whom much is given, much is also expected, because of the productivity, so that it will not be one side, so that they will not have any reason to say, let me lay off these people because of the so-called low productivity. Everybody will go back now, because this is another assignment to all the labor leaders. As the governor told us some days ago, when we met the governor of Lagos State, he said something which is very vital, and unfortunately the press didn't carry it, that the issue of the so-called debt, that is going to make available all these sack, these refuse bags, that is going to even give it to all laborers, so that labor can give it to their members, so that it is now going to be joint work between labor and the government, so that the sanitation proper in Lagos can be. It's a very good idea, because once the thing comes from the labor to their members, therefore members will be able to effectively, so that because government has given them something incentive, they have to work for government, so that things will work well for the sanitation in Lagos State. So back to your question, workers are ready to put more extra energy to see that this exercise is not in futility. It is assurance from workers.
Maybe you could explain that aspect, Comrade Kazim, that aspect where it was thought that there are some salaries, December salaries at that time, you know, when we hadn't arrived at agreement, were in jeopardy, that, you know, not everybody would get their salary in December, which, you know, would be sort of catastrophic in a kind of a psychological kind of way. What was that issue about, and how has it been cleared up, if it has been cleared up?
No, in honest, we really don't have a problem in payment in
December salaries.
The only thing that happened is that we have in December there used to be bonus, extra percentage being added into staff salaries. Then secondly, the issue of this ID card we are talking about, national ID card we are talking about,
to eliminate ghost workers.
Exactly, it will go a long way to eliminate ghost workers. if it is done both at the federal and the state. But in the state, it is now in place.
Okay.
So when you get to allow staff, there's a place there set aside for members of staff to move in, do the needful. So that with that, the idea of money being siphoned illegally out of the government purse will be out of it.
In addendum to what he said about
Because
this,
I got to go on a break now, but when I come back, I'll start with you, and of course that'll be the time when we'll open the phones. People can maybe call in, and I guess everybody's happy that we've reached an agreement and a strike is not on the horizon anymore. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Welcome back. And labor only this morning around 3:45 when the meeting ended, it was discovered that they had reached an agreement, and so the strike was off the cards. And indeed, labor has told us this morning that in studio that, quite frankly, they're happy. It's not as if they don't have reservations. Labor tends, most of us tend to be, Oliver Twists. So there are aspects of it. But when we were, just before we went to break, okay, there you go. That's the Minister of Labor and the Minister of State. Now, when we were going to break, you wanted to comment on this whole verification exercise that is problematic, I think.
yes, thank you. It's problematic, but it is not even problematic. You see, if there is ghost worker dictated somewhere with certain millions of naira, what did the government of that particular place, either the federal, state, or local, do to apprehend, to punish the head of that area where the ghost workers? Because it is like a conduit pipe. If 100 million naira as a monument for workers are exhumed somewhere, what happened to the MDA's chief executive of that place? The MDA's chief executive, what happened to them? This area, if the government search their searchlight to it, it will curb. And it will go to reduce, because as we speak now, there are still some ghost worker. Unless and until government bring out some searchlight to it, it will help. Today now, I'm sure that they are going to launch the issue of the whistleblower today in Abuja. It's going to be part and parcel of what is going to assist this government in unnecessary leakages. So if they empower the workers and with the confidentiality and serious security assurance, things will be okay, and all these leakages will be reduced.
Comrade Kazim, it's an interesting point he makes that, look, these ghost workers that the whole verification thing is all about, first of all, we've established that there are ghost workers. Is labor, sometimes you hear labor say government, is not coming with sincerity of purpose. And this point here, of course, government must abhor ghost workers. It's stealing, quite frankly. But where does it go? And why hasn't government sort of investigated it such that if we've admitted that there are ghost workers, why have there been no apprehensions? Was that brought up as an issue? Because government certainly must have an answer.
Really, that necessitated the establishment of audit department in all government establishments. It's expected that if audits does their work the way it's supposed to be, they would definitely dictate. And not only that, we are labor leaders and we don't support fraud or any attempt to defraud government. That is why we are partners in progress.
Yeah, but
Partner
you're alleging this time around that the question you pose is accusatory. So what has government done about even that one that is there? So there's an accusatory element. But don't let me put you on the spot because I can come back to it later on.
Yeah.
Right now, I think we lost Comrade Yakub there. Yakub was on the line, and see if you can get back in again, Yakub. Sorry about that. But you know, we've opened the lines and calls are coming. So
in honest, we can be of help to government to fish out those workers. But like I said, the audit department has to do their job relentlessly to fish out these officers that are head in embezzling or siphoning workers' money. We should be seen as, first and foremost, government should see us as partners in progress. Both on improved productivity and staff welfare.
You know, what you were just talking about has reminded me of another aspect where the president has ordered a forensic audit into the NDDC. But everybody's a comrade this morning. Who do I have on the line? Comrade Joshua from Irewale.
Okay.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah.
You look gorgeous and set for the weekend.
Oh.
And I greet your comrades and I congratulate them. I think they said they are happy now. But you have asked a question. Please let them address it. That's the issue of them facing pressure of strike on government when things go wrong with the public or when things are not okay. So they have not answered that question. So I think they need to address it because let them understand, the labor, the comrades, that presently it is on record that 30% of Nigerians, labor, those in government, and those who have some employment are sharing the money that is in Nigeria, whether by salary or by anything. 30%, meaning that 70% of Nigerians are hungry. They are not participating in the sharing. That is a time bomb that they need to know. So now their salary agitation is okay, and I'm happy one of them mentioned that as adjustment that takes place, inflation erodes it immediately, meaning that it is not about the money, but as you are saying, things that add value to people's lives, like accommodation, welfare, and all those things.
Oh, okay, but we lost that call, but at least we got enough out of it. He feels that you can address that a bit more. Say, look, it's too tempting to pat yourselves on the back that you got what you wanted, but at the end of the day, what you really want is the betterment of the workers' condition, and has this provided that?
Now, I said one thing now. I really never wanted to say, okay, President, be prepared to reduce your salary by half. National Assembly, be prepared to reduce your salary by half. But the best way to handle this is to say that what goes, that 52% of revenue allocation that goes to federal government should be drastically reduced. When they take 30%, they wouldn't see that whole sum of money to pay them at the National Assembly. They wouldn't see that whole sum of money to be set aside as a wardrobe allowance or whatnot. If that one is done, what goes to them will be drastically reduced. And many of that, the whole sum of that money, or the large percentage of that money will come to the state and the local government. Let them take 30%, the remaining 70% be shared between state and local government. Okay. And they should be, with that, the state and the local government should be prepared to address issues that will enable an average the downtrodden Nigerians, to be happy. Okay. To live comfortably. The issue of medical and health medical and health issues will be drastically, attended to. Will be surely attended to. The issue of transportation, enough vehicles will be provided by government to surpass what yellow buses
I see. I
Will
hear.
take.
I hear what you're
And
saying.
he would do other things.
Can I just? I beg your pardon for interrupting you, but I'm going to come back to you. Yakub, Comrade Yakub has come back on. Good morning, Mr. Yakub. Comrade Yakub, in fact.
Good morning, sir. You give me comrade today.
I give you comrade today. Everybody's a comrade because we all won. But
Yes,
did
yes.
we? Did we? Is the question.
Exactly. Thank you very much. And then move on to your comrade and in the studio. Shivjori, I'm of opinion, when we are discussing this issue, I'm the one who raised the issue that why Labour always go for strike all about increment of salary.
Okay.
Why are they not going on strike? Because of the deterioration of our road, poor infrastructure in our school, and so many other things. And then I'm very happy that you put some of the questions to one of your guests, but he dodged that particular question, was not provide the answer to it. Now, I'm using this opportunity to throw the question back to him. Because the reason is this: yes, I agree. You make sure that you negotiate yourself out and then you get 23%, 20%, and all that going down there. What about if you are getting 15,000, for example, as a monthly salary before, and then because of this agreement now, you get up to 28 or 30,000 or 50,000 as case may be. Out of that 50,000 naira, because of the bad of the road that you are not going to go on track for, and then you use aspect of that money to transport yourself from your home to your working place every day. And then out of the remaining money in your pocket, you are going to give your children money for food to school and all that. What is going to remain? It cannot take you up. That is where the corruption comes in. You see, this labor of a team, yes, I give kudos to them. I also give kudos to the government for allowing them to negotiate without strike. It's a welcome development, Chibiori. But for me, I'm still standing on that labor should go beyond as for increment in salary. One of your guys mentioned that
but
the
Yakub,
government should be able to buy policies for the masses.
Yakub,
Yes?
you remember that after you posited that position, there are commentary that came after that was saying that, look, that's hardly Labour's business to be, we know that everything you're saying is true. The roads are not existent. Well, the roads are not good enough, which increases the cost of farm produce, just because too much spoilage and it goes on and on. So these things are making life impossible. But our guest that morning, and some who called in from home, you recall, said that that's not Labour's job. Labour must operate within the form. I don't know if that was satisfactory to you or you didn't buy that.
Chibiori, it is Comrade Ekujemi say so. But for me, I disagree with the Comrade Ekujemi because the reason is this. You said it is not Labour, it is not Labour to go on strike for the road and all that. Chibiori, okay, why is it the problem of Labour to go on a strike because of increment of salary? Why? Because, Chibiori, see, let's come to think of it. We are talking about institution here. And then our legislation take much money. And then we are also telling Labour cannot go on strike to be able to force our legislation to cut their own. How much is 30,000 I was talking about here?
Okay.
And then another thing is this, quickly, because I need to make it point. One of your guys here says that the government ought to tell Labour to buy vehicle in order to surpass all these yellow buses. The vehicle that the government wants to buy, in order for them to transport themselves lesser than the money they are paying to yellow buses. Where is the road that the boss wants to apply? So it is a practical example because we cannot just, and then you also report it. You forget that there is no law in place to allow a state to tap into resources in their period state.
Okay.
Can't just go on strike because of that. They should make a law whereby will allow period state to tap into the resources in their period state in order for them to have more money. Thank you and God bless.
Thank you very much.
I want to comment.
Okay.
Let me comment.
Yes.
Now, there's one salient fact I want him to know. One, a law has been promulgated, passed into bill, and it becomes one of the laws in this country that has to be strictly adhered to. That is, any establishment that had more than 25 staff should not earn less than 30,000 minimum wage. That is, it's very, very clear. The other one we are talking about is consequential, but the law itself is that we now have 18,000 being substituted, and 30,000 being substituted for 18,000, and it's a law which is binding on Nigerians. That's one. Two, Avalia said that in this country, we should have maintenance culture. What happened to 114 roads that the last administration requested the local government to build for repairs? Is it was it fictitious? Are we saying, or rather, are we saying that they use substandard materials? Why is it that we don't even see any of that road that is good, that is in good shape now? That's why I'm supporting the present day government that has declared emergency on road repairs. I said it earlier. We would have said, okay, Governor Sanwo-Olu, use all your budget for the remainder of the year for road repairs, but we wouldn't allow other sector to lag behind. I equally said payment of salaries and other allowances are sacrosanct. So, but meanwhile, it is equally good for people to know that labor, we don't work in isolation. Okay. We have the civil society organization amongst us that works. And don't forget of recent when Charlie Boy, protested to House of Assembly, it was manhandled. Thank God the court sanctioned the police officer those police officers that manhandled him. But we will continue to try our best.
Okay. I know you want to add something, but let me quickly bring in Mohammed from Dublin. Okay. Mohammed is in Dublin. Good morning, sir.
Mr. Ilori, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you very much for calling in.
Why do you exempt me from comradeship this morning?
You're a comrade too. Comrade Mohammed, Kanigo.
Thank you very much. I want to contribute little to these discussions this morning.
Sure.
In the world today, Nigeria is a country to be reckoned with in terms of anything. Even the Americans, the advanced world, they know if anything goes wrong in Nigeria, they know it's going to affect the whole of the world. What I'm trying to contribute this morning is we so shy this Nigeria discussing about ghost workers and all this on national televisions. The issue of ghost worker to tackle is just very simple. In advanced world, what you do, like I know in Nigeria there are many people working that stays at home, even though I have worked in Nigeria for many years. I was born before independence, so I should know what I'm saying. And many people come to work and then go back home. Even some people don't even call. They don't even call. So the way to tackle that is very simple, Mr. Ilori. There is this biometric capturing. Every day you come to work in advanced world, you go in the clock in with your finger index. And then if you finish, you go in there and clock out again. I believe that will cope these ghost workers and whatever you're saying. If you can advance government to do that. Well, if Nigeria is good, everybody wants to come back home. And we are even coming already. Yeah. There's no place like home. Thank you, Mr. Ilori.
Thank you very much for calling in, Comrade Mohammed. So you wanted to add to, because Yakub was saying that he wasn't satisfied with the answer.
Maybe Comrade Yakub did not get the antecedent of these labors. In this country, labor has already demonstrated an increase in fuel pump price. And there's some limitation to where labor can demonstrate. You see, when he was talking about fixing all the infrastructure, he is correct. And the government of today keep on hammering on them that there are a lot of things you need to do to make life easier for workers. When we say workers, it's not even not workers, both those people working in the government side and those people working on their own private sector, which is informal sector. You see, the issue of infrastructure is the bane of everything. Comrade Yakub Mohammed said something about clogging. Whereas, is NEPA working effectively? Can you do this finger biometrics without the excess of power? And you know the numbers of power outage in some local government, hardly can they get even power for so many hours. How would that complain that as I said here, I don't like comparing Nigeria with, because Nigeria is a peculiar country with peculiar nature. The addendum I want to add to my colleague is that a lot of things we are doing here that are true cosmetics. I'm happy some of them are now realizing it. Why Senate chamber?
Why? Okay, you bringing that up.
Why?
I hope that we can say one or two words about the president ordering a forensic audit of the, because it's part of wastages and blockages.
It's part of,
because
yes.
according to the news reports, the president said that the federal government has been religiously
putting money there,
putting money
but it's not
into the
showing.
Niger Delta, but
It's not showing.
it's not showing, and so some questions need to be answered. But in Magodo here, somebody, Ehi, good morning, sir. Comrade Ehi. Very morning, sir. Very good morning, sir.
Good morning to your comrades in the studio.
Okay.
Yes, it's a good one that finally the Labour and the federal government, they finally agreed on what they needed to do, which is not bad. On the issue on ground, all I just think is that government just has to sincerely cut costs.
That's all.
Very important. Mr. Yori, you all know that there is so much wastages in the system. Just like on the NDDC, the presidency is ordering investigation. So many wastage in the system. Because even on the call down on the traveling of the ministers that the president has just done of president, I think it's a very noble thing to do. And it should not stop there. It should also look at even the traveling of the presidency, where we have over 2 billion naira budgeted for traveling for 2020. There are a lot of wastages in the system. So if you are able to call down these issues, we'll have enough money to take care of our infrastructures. We'll have enough money to take care of the enormous problems we are having in the country. The problem we have is not that there is not enough money. The problem we have is that there's so much wastages, so much corruption in the system, still going on just like before. If we are able to deal with all this, Mr. Yori, I think we'll be singing a new song, and the case will be different.
Indeed. Thank you very much for calling in, Labour itself seems to be, we started off, Labour said it's pleased, that it is pleased, so that there's a sense in which, well, you are also giving government kudos for what they have done, just like government gave you 2 kudos that, Labour conducted themselves admirably, once we gave them everything. You saying, is there a sense, has Labour had it this good, you go down memory lane, has Labour had it this good with governments before, administrations before now?
You see, Labour has been talking to government.
Yes.
But from the latest development, I think this is the first time, and everybody knows the reason why all things are now changing. You see, there are a lot of things, as the last speaker said, the last caller said, wastages. There are some things we need to expunge in our system. Somebody said in the House, that red chamber, that why the need for 3 senators from a state? That is a very good statement. Why even the need for that red
Senate
chamber
at all?
What the need for Senate at all? Then too, all this retinue of vehicles going with so many. There is a particular state, they announced 36 commissioners and essay, just of recent, besides the Osun State.
Sorry. Please continue.
You see, what is the revenue in that state that can take care of those political office holders? These are things we need to check. But Constitution of Nigeria is another problem, because the Constitution says you must pick one minister from each state.
Exactly. Thank you very
So
much for
why
remembering
can't government try to set
See
up a committee and
if we can amend the Constitution?
Sure.
Okay. Mazi Okoroafo, thank you very much for calling in. You're our last caller. Good morning, sir.
Okay, good morning, sir. Good morning, the comrade. I'm so comrade Okoroafo too.
Yes, comrade Okoroafo.
Sir Johnny, let's get the issue of this ghost staff, the local government and the state and the federal government, to make it easy. The Human Resources Department, the personnel should be held responsible. Because there's no how you have a ghost staff where the Human Resources Department are not aware of it. They don't come from the bloom. Now, The 30,000 are to me, well, the government has said, but that one is no money because you check the bag of rice and the meat and the rest. You know? Now, the issue of NNDC, honestly speaking, I was so happy when I saw the headline. The federal government should dig very hard on that NNDC. Let me give you an example. Come to Aruchuku. The road is very to from Amobi, just coming inside now. One side of the road side they have water, the other side they don't have water. What they say that you cannot cut the road and get water. Ask me why. Now this is the same state, the same local government. So there is a lot to be digged inside because most of the roads we have in that area, that south side and south is supposed to be done by the NNDC. But what happened now? They will do halfway after one day, the road will wash out. Now come to Puto, Owerri. I see the rooms they created for students now. Very mature, two rooms. They will now bring 4 double bunks inside one room. That will take only 2 people now. 4 double bunks. Now check that 4 double bunks. How many students will be now? And then they're collecting 45,000 naira every year for a student. It's a room that should take 1 person, now taking 8 students. So there is a need for the federal government. As a matter of urgency, NGDC should be probed now or never. Thank you very much. Have a blessed day in Lagos.
Thank you very much for calling in, Mazi Okorafor. It's something like this. Every Nigerian is going to want to contribute, and we've run out of time. But I think, well, we'll continue the conversation, of course, looking at the implications of it. But I do want to thank you, gentlemen, Comrade Adetunji Ademisoye and Comrade Akim Kazim. Congratulations to Labour. Congratulations to the Nigerian worker. But we'll have to keep on monitoring the situation. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on. So that's our program. Please join us on Monday for the fresh edition because we don't do weekends. I am Yori Folarin. Do have a great weekend.